The following is a production of the University of Minnesota, driven to discover.
Hi, this is David Arundale, your host for the Peer Assisted Learning Groups podcast. Thanks for spending some time with us today. In this podcast episode, we have a conversation with Mario, who's a student study group leader at Florida International University. This is part 2 of a 4-part series from FIU. We began our conversation with Mario describing his experience as an international student. He describes his journey to becoming a tutor at the institution. Among the topics that Mario is responsible, he describes why physics is challenging for many students. Careful listening to student needs is a key element to the sophisticated approach that Mario brings to his study sessions. Mario finishes by explaining the joy that he receives as part of his experience as a tutor and small group session leader. Well, let's listen in on our conversation. Well, hi, everyone. Glad to have you join us for another episode of the podcast. We're at Florida International University, and we're talking with Mario. Please introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me, David. As you already said, I am Mario. I'm a student at FIU in Florida, downtown. I'm currently studying mechanical engineer, and I came to this country from Venezuela around 5 years ago. I'm currently under an F1 student visa. It's been a great experience. I've been working for the university for the last 4 years before in Broward College and currently in FIU as a student tutor. And I've been able to experience a lot of different students, and I've been able to learn a lot from the experience itself.
You've told us about what you're studying. What's the career path for a future vocation, or are you just kind of keeping your options open?
Currently keeping my options open. I did have a path selected for me. I find aerospace and fluid mechanics very interesting, something that I really wanted to do. But unfortunately, as I was getting to know the field in this country more and more, you got to be a U.S. citizen to apply to like 99% of the jobs because of security clearance issues. So I have to go away from that branch, and I'm now opening to see what else I like, most likely still regarding into the fluid mechanics and thermodynamics field. Currently going to have an internship with Cummins, that is a diesel engine company, this coming summer. So hopefully I'll be able to really have a broad view of how professional field it is for new engineers like me.
Well, congratulations on winning the internship. I know how difficult those kinds of positions can be.
Yeah, it's a very, very stressful part of the career. I'm not going to lie.
With your busy life, what made you want to become a tutor? I realize that there's a salary with that, but why is it that you chose to become a tutor?
Well, I'm going to be honest. When I first came here, only as a student, of course, as an international student, I'm not allowed to work outside the university. And I was asking myself, what is the best job that I can get inside the university, the one that I can learn the most from. And I decided that among a couple of them, tutoring was something that I would really fancy because I already did half of my career back in Venezuela. So I already have the previous knowledge to start teaching some of the classes that I was already retaking. And I started tutoring from Broward College. I was there about 2 years, and I must say it is an experience that I really enjoyed. I never thought I was going to be a tutor, to be honest. If you asked me that like 4 years ago, I really never thought so. But I gave it a chance, and I can't imagine working on something else right now inside in the university. It even make me realize that teaching is something that I quite enjoy. So I do have some dreamy plans for the future to tentatively become a professor or something of the sort, if that becomes possible down there. That will be an amazing experience for sure.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Mario, because research shows that about 30% of people who do group tutoring change their majors to become teachers because they enjoy the experience, they receive a lot of positive feedback, and they see the opportunities that are out there. For me, I've come out and just retired from a 40-year career as a teacher. I have real positive feelings about that, but also we need lots of mechanical engineers too. So keeping your options open is a good thing. Well, remind us, what courses is it that you support with your work?
Yes, I have always tutor courses related to mathematics, calculus, algebra, and also physics, electric physics or Newtonian physics, whichever is fine. Those normally are the courses that I like to tutor. Also some engineering, more advanced courses as well, if possible.
Well, that's a pretty wide range. Let's just pick one of the courses
For
and
sure.
tell us why that is challenging for students.
Yes, for sure. I actually thought about it before we met, and I think physics will be an amazing example because physics is a course where you find so many people having troubles with, and it has to really do with the background of the students. Everybody comes from different places, everybody experiences different educations. But in general, it's a complex topic for people. Firstly, because it is mandatory for most careers to take. And there are many careers that they just don't fancy the course, like many biologists, many people studying, I don't know, psychology, they have to take the course, but they are not really hot for them, let's say. And that makes it a little challenging because nobody likes to do something that they don't want to do. Also, because it is a heavily algebraic related course. And if people have struggles with those other courses, it's going to be very complicated to succeed. And it's really complicated as a tutor and as a professor to overcome such a load that it's already the student carrying, which is not necessarily the problem of the student or anybody. It's just things that happen. It happened to me. I know that for sure. As I already told you, I retake most of my courses. And the second time that I tutor is the time that I really, really learn them.
Well, I hear you about that. Your comment about the mathematics that is embedded within the physics course, that also pops up in the general chemistry courses as well. And that's what makes it so complicated for many students that they're dealing with multiple competencies that they need to do. Within your sessions that you have, either whether they're one on one or they're in small groups, what are some of the effective learning strategies that you use to help students to be able to learn the material and engage with it?
Okay, so that's actually a very complicated question, I will say, because I have found out that tutoring is a very open-ended experience. It's not too mechanical, too linear. You can always make some, let's say, strategies to approach students if you're maybe new to the field, but I've been doing it for so long that I don't see it that way anymore. I just know that I sit with the student and my goal is to find out first what they need and how they may learn. And then I start really playing around with some, let's say, concepts that I'm explaining or examples that I'm explaining to see how the student learns and what the student needs to learn. Because as I already mentioned regarding physics, maybe I can notice that they need help with actually algebra more than physics. So you gotta kind of like improvise there. But when you have group sessions, though, you really don't have the time to do something so formalized and individual. So I have found out that a good way to really make your time very efficient, it's either having a preset topic that you want to cover with the group, kind of like a lecture, but of course it wouldn't be a lecture, it will be tutoring. And as you explain concepts, you throw away problems for them to solve and walk with them through the problems. Try to make it individual as much as you can with a small group, let's say 8 people, that is fairly feasible. That tends to work very well. Also trying to encourage students in those groups that don't know each other necessarily to work together to figure out problems. Maybe someone is a little more knowledgeable of the material and they can help the others. And that allows you to use your time for someone and then some other student is helping you at the same time. But again, I wouldn't say that there are really specific strategies that I have found effective because I don't see it as preset strategies. I like to really improvise as I do it because I've been doing it for so long.
Well, it sounds like the art of listening carefully to them is paramount for you to be able to do a good job then.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Also know what you're looking for when you're listening to them. Understand that for this course, what are the general things that students struggle with, and try to see if you can also see this new student needs that as well, or if they need something else and how they like to communicate with you. Yeah, communication is an absolute key role in tutoring.
You've given us a lot in terms of ways that you work with your students. Let's just kind of turn the tables here, and that is based off of your experiences with tutoring and small group work. What are you getting out of this experience personally?
It's just so much because as I told you already, I found out that I actually enjoy teaching to some extent, if you can call it teaching. It's something that I find gratefulness in. It's something that I find joy. It's something that I really don't find myself any day saying, oh my God, I'm boring of this chief. I just want to go home. I just go with the flow and have fun with the students. I was able to find out that. I think I also was able to learn how to deal with customer service, because it is a customer service job after all. You're going to have several students coming to you, and you got to keep it professional, you got to keep it formal, but friendly enough so that they feel that they are not talking to their professor, because normally that tends to close the students up a little. You want to convey that you're also a student and you're working with them. You want to keep it as formal as possible. Also allow me to learn how people learn and how I learn myself. My grades improved drastically after I started tutoring, because I started to realize better ways to study for my own courses. And I know that that's something that it can even be taken outside of education. It can be taken to wherever you're working. You always need people to learn in regardless where you are.
Well, that was a really rich answer. I enjoy that you use the word joy to express part of your feelings as a result of this experience.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the final question for you is, we have people who are listening to this podcast. They're fellow tutors, small group discussion leaders, managers of programs. Is there any last word that you'd just like to share with them? Is there a lesson learned? Is there a suggestion that you'd like to offer for the listeners of the podcast?
Well, just thanks for listening. That it was a pleasure to be here talking to you today, and it has been a very grateful experience, a very fun experience, and I'm really excited to hear myself talking, because it's something that I don't do often, so I don't know how good my accent is.
Once again, something I always said with my students, accents are on the point of view. If I was down in Venezuela, I would be the one with the accent, and you would be the one that sounded like everyone else.
That is completely true.
Yeah, so I think it's just something in this world we need to understand and look at other people and think about them and their context. So it's been a pleasure visiting with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, David.